Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Raising Cane studio.
Let's ride!
And off we go. Welcome aboard. Glad you're with us. It's AFR presented by Don Juan Cigar Bar. I'm Matt.
This is Shaq O'Neal, and I hate Matt.
Paul O'Neal.
They're chanting Paul O'Neal's name.
Alondra de la Real. And Mr. Toby Tom Blake. All right, we're here. Glad you are as well. Get out there and make it a good one. The LSU Tigers have a new target for their defensive line coach. Terrio is here in 1 hour from right now. We'll give you college football picks, Saints, Jets, ton to do. Let's begin as we do every single day.
It's time to pop the top on another edition of AFR with Bud Light. Drink easy.
Well, we will begin today with a little bit of developing news, or breaking news, as it were. I guess this isn't necessarily breaking, it is developing. Football Scoop had it first, but we have since confirmed that the LSU Tigers are targeting Sterling Lucas to be their defensive line coach. So Sterling Lucas presently is the defensive run game coordinator for South Carolina on Shane Beamer's staff. He also works with the defensive ends and the outside linebackers. So he works with the edge rushers, but he's a defensive line coach there. Of course, we all know that dynamic edge rusher Dylan Stewart is his pupil there at South Carolina. Perhaps maybe a guy coerced into the portal. I can't back that up. I have no idea. Just saying, just put two together. But just within the last half hour, I got that text that Lucas is the new name that they're targeting, and we'll see how this may develop. Football Scoop had it first. Lucas, if you're wondering, he's in his 5th season with the Gamecocks. He joined them on field in 2022, so prior to that had been in an off-field role. But look, in the last couple of years, you look at the job that a guy like Dylan Stewart has done. You had Kyle Kennard a season ago, who was the SEC Defensive Player of the Year, opposite Dylan Stewart. So you've had a really productive group there in Columbia. So that's kind of the target right now. And it's the last remaining defensive staff spot. Of course, Blake Baker and his staff have been retained. So the only coach not returning is Kyle Williams. As we've talked about, Kyle Williams is not expected to return to college coaching. So he's a one and done at LSU. But LSU's had so much turnover on its defensive line at coaching that position. Really, if you go back to the spring of 2023, remember Jamar Cain abruptly in the middle of spring practice left to take a job on Sean Payton's staff with the Denver Broncos. They promoted Gerald Chapman for the remainder of spring. He was not named the full-time hire. They then hired Jimmy Lindsey. When Jimmy Lindsey became ill, they moved John Jancic into the defensive tackle role, or defensive line. Then they brought back Pete Jenkins to work with John Jancic. Then going into 2024, they hired Bo Davis, who lasted 1 season. They hired Kyle Williams, who lasted 1 season. So now you're going to hire your 8th different coach to work with the defensive line since Jamar Cain in the spring of 2023. That's staggering. The lack of consistency they've been able to develop at that position for a lot of different reasons. But that's also a position group that is going to see a lot of turnover. You're losing Jacobian Guillory. You're losing Bernard Gooden. I'm just talking about the interior players, right? You're losing Guillory. You're losing Gooden. Ahmad Bro has entered the portal, which means you've got Dom McKinley back, and then all the young guys are part of this most recent class. You've got Richard Anderson coming in. So it is It's a position that's not short of talent, maybe a little short of experience, depth, but a spot that LSU very likely is going to go address in the transfer portal. But this is the newest name to pop up here. Again, Sterling Lucas, who has been at South Carolina the last 5 years. His title is Defensive Run Game Coordinator, but he also works with the defensive ends and outside linebackers. So we will we'll let you know if we get anything final on that, but that's the new target. The aforementioned Gerald Chapman, who was the one who, when Jamar Cain left in the middle of spring in 23, Chapman was promoted from an analyst role to on-field role for the remainder of spring. Well, Lane Kiffin had targeted Gerald Chapman, who's been at the University of Florida. Chapman just a day ago agreed to an extension to stay at Florida on John Summerall's staff. Prior to that, we know it was Elijah Robinson, who'd previously been at Texas A&M. Last 2 years have been at Syracuse. Looked like LSU had a deal done to get Robinson to Baton Rouge. Ultimately, that somewhere along the way fell apart. Whether he lands at Nebraska with Matt Rule or at his alma mater, Penn State, remains to be seen. Chris Kiffin is the other coach who's on staff, Lane Kiffin's brother, who's worked with defensive lines throughout his career, 11 different seasons at various levels, including major college and NFL level, working with defensive linemen. So that's another possibility. How they structure the staff will be interesting, but Sterling Lucas is the new name. A lot of people had mentioned Ed Ogeron from the onset of this, and it's one of the things that I know that I've said many times here is just that I had never heard Ed Ogeron's name credibly from anyone associated with LSU. That always felt like that was a agent push. That was Ed Ogeron, who's just received earlier this week his final buyout payment from LSU. I believe it was December the 15th, and is looking to work. And his agent's doing what good agents do, which is get their client's name out there. So he's been mentioned for a lot of different jobs, and it was mentioned in connection with the LSU job, although I never heard anyone at LSU mention Coach O. And obviously the fact that they continue to look at different candidates from Elijah Robinson and Gerald Chapman, now Sterling Lucas, it kind of tells you the story, right? Like if they wanted to hire Ed Ogeron, he's there. They could hire him. They haven't. They won't. So we'll see if they can get a deal done with Lucas, but that's the name to know. Sterling Lucas is the latest target here. We learned just a bit ago at LouisianaSports.net. Again, Football Scoop, Matt Zenitz, others have it also. All right, it's after further review. Our show Open Every Day is brought to you by Bud Light. Drink easy with the great taste of Bud Light, the official beer of AFR, the official beer of the LSU Tigers, and the official beer of the New Orleans Saints. Y'all, it is Christmas time. If you're going to be hitting up a Christmas party, we had the Guaranteed Christmas Party last night. Might have had me a few ice-cold Bud Lights or two at the Guaranteed Christmas Party last night. If you do drink, make sure you drink responsibly. Y'all be safe this holiday season. Always, get a ride, designated driver, get an Uber. If you're going to drink, don't drive. Enjoy delicious ice-cold Bud Light responsibly this holiday season. Drink easy with the great taste of Bud Light. Okay, y'all. Man, we got a lot to do today, and that's one that really just popped up here in the last 20, 30 minutes or so with Sterling Lucas. So I do have LSU football was back on the practice field today. It was their 7th bowl practice today. I do have a little bit of an update, making a few calls today. I'll kind of a few personnel updates for the bowl game. A couple guys that are in that maybe weren't sure. One that's not going to play. We'll get to that here in a bit. And also, I do want to share some of what I've learned here about what's going on over in Oxford, because whether we want to acknowledge it or not, there's so much crossover between the staffs, and there's going to be roster exchange crossover as well. And Ole Miss is strategizing how to move forward, and it is absolutely going to impact LSU. The question is how much and how severely. So I do want to let you know a little bit of what I know there. So we'll get to that coming up here in just a bit as well. It is a Friday edition of AFR presented by Don Juan Cigar Bar. Stick around.
AFR.
Man, I love telling you about the Watermark and the Renaissance. Watermark Downtown, Renaissance Southtown. 2 amazing hotel properties. Of course, Renaissance Baton Rouge is right there on Bluebonnet near I-10, so it's super convenient to get anywhere in Baton Rouge from the Renaissance Hotel. Right there, Bluebonnet near I-10, across from the Mall of Louisiana and Perkins Row. Maybe with this being the final weekend to shop before Christmas, guys, maybe you're going to go drop your wife off, your significant other off at the mall or at Perkins Row. Let her go shop. how about you go pop into Renaissance? Go hang out at Tallulah. Beautiful indoor, outdoor flow. We actually had a nice warm-up at 64 degrees and sunny, beautiful day right now. Great opportunity to grab a cold beer, a cocktail, a glass of wine, sit out on the terrace and with the fire water pit. Beautiful ambiance, great place to go enjoy a meal or a cocktail. It's at Renaissance Baton Rouge, and of course, they can host your event, no matter what size. It's on Bluebonnet. It's Renaissance Baton Rouge.
After Further Review with Matt Moscona, presented by Don Juan Cigar Bar.
I'm glad you're hanging out here on Friday edition of AFR. We are cruising toward the opening day of the college football playoff. Bama and Oklahoma tonight in Norman. So we'll get a quick thumbnail preview of that coming up here in just a little bit from both head coaches as they get their teams ready for the game tonight. Also, we're keeping an eye on Saints Jets, the final injury report for the Saints and the Jets. As Saints are looking to make it 3 in a row. They are a 4-point favorite in the ball game. We do not have the full injury report yet. However, the availability report is out. So we know based on the media availability, like during the viewing period that the media had at practice, who was there and who was not there. Of note, Devon Vele, these are players that were not at practice during the media viewing portion. Devon Vele, Mason Tipton, Alvin Kamara, Cesar Ruiz, and Asim Richards. So those 5 players were not out there. Certainly seems like the Saints will be without Vele and Kamara again. So 2 of their top offensive weapons not likely to be with the Saints this weekend. If by the time you get to Friday, if you haven't gotten out on the practice field yet, it's unlikely that you're going to be good to go and be able to play on Sunday. So we'll keep an eye on it when the full injury report comes out. A bit later here in the show, and we'll talk about it. Terrio's here in about 45 minutes from right now. We are brought to you by Don Juan Cigar Bar. Glad to have you with us. It's so interesting because right now, LSU, all of the focus for many of us is revolving around the future of the program. It's Lane Kiffin. It's building his staff. It's getting ready for the portal. It's guys going into the portal. We forget that in 8 days, LSU is going to play a game. So I know that the Texas Bowl has been relegated to something not of great significance or consequence, and I do certainly understand that. But LSU is going to play this bowl game, and as I always say, the most important part of the bowl game, if you're not in the playoff, is you get those 15 bowl practices. And right now, Tigers are back on the practice field today. It was their 7th bowl practice. And so I was able to make a few calls to kind of get a sense of how things are going. 95% of the game plan, as I understand it, is in. So at this point, it's fine-tuning, getting ready for the game. So there's 7 practices in. They are going to take the weekend off. They'll be back on Monday. They'll work out their lift. They'll meet, all that good stuff. And they'll have 4 practices next week. And then the Tigers will travel to Houston on Christmas Eve. So they will spend Christmas Eve, Christmas Day in Houston there for the Texas Bowl. So they'll leave Wednesday, Christmas Eve, for the game on Saturday there in Houston. There's a few personnel notes that I want to get to that I do think are very significant for LSU in this game. Number 1, Braylon Moore is back. So remember, Braylon Moore was injured after just 3 snaps in the Western Kentucky game. That was the home finale. So he suffered that injury, did not play against Oklahoma. Well, he is back. He's practicing and is expected to play here in the game against the University of Houston. It's interesting because Moore was injured twice this year. He was injured on the first snap against Louisiana Tech in week 2 and was still able to go the following week, which is amazing, against Florida. And then injured in that Western Kentucky game, just 3 snaps into that game, and then did not play against OU. I think it's a great sign that Braylon Moore is going to play in this bowl game. First of all, you need him. I mean, that's, as we've talked about, it's your worst position group on the team this year, and Braylon Moore was your best offensive lineman. So you can ill afford to have your best player at your worst position group go down. So that's significant. It is still to be determined if Braylon Moore is going to return next season. We don't know that yet. He has not made an announcement. He did not go through Senior Day festivities in that home game against Western Kentucky. So Braylon Moore, he's draft eligible, but he has another year of eligibility if he were to return to Baton Rouge, which I don't know what Lane Kiffin and Billy Glasscock's big board looks like, but it would stand to reason if you have an opportunity to return Braylon Moore, who's your best offensive lineman this year, you got to do it. I mean, a cornerstone piece right in the center of your offensive line, that would be massive. And the fact that he is participating in the bowl game is a really good indicator that he's not already opted out. I was also told that Nick Anderson is back and practicing. Now, Nick Anderson has played 9 games this year, but he has not been on the field since the Alabama game. And, this is one of those that's a bummer because, as we look at sort of the portal evaluation of the previous staff and this team, that's one where clearly, you've missed on the effectiveness. Right? There's a lot of places you hit in the portal. Like, you hit on Mansour Delane, you hit on A.J. Halsey, you hit on some key players. It's fair to say you missed on a lot of these offensive guys, especially the skill guys. Bauer Sharp, Nick Anderson. Look, Barry Brown was your leading receiver, but I think any of us would trade Bauer Sharp, Nick Anderson for 2 more starting caliber offensive linemen on this team. It might have been a very different season. But Nick Anderson hasn't played since Bama. He is back for this game, which is great, which would also be an indication that maybe he'll be back next year. Lane Kiffin and his staff are going through all those evaluations right now and sort of those retention conversations. So we'll see what that means for a guy like Nick Anderson. But he is a guy that needs to play. I mean, after having the explosive season 2 years ago at Oklahoma, missing all of last year, going in the portal, and then this season playing in 9 games and having just 12 catches for 106 yards and 2 touchdowns. I mean, the biggest moment was the deflected touchdown that he caught against Ole Miss that put LSU on the board first. But 12 catches for 106 yards and 2 touchdowns. Like, I thought that might be a game for him. Instead, that's a season for Nick Anderson. So having Anderson back out there is good. Aaron Anderson, I think we've shared this with you, is not going to play. He's accepted an invite to the East West Shrine game. He's still battling injury, so he's going to get healthy and go focus on getting prepared for the NFL draft. So you will not have Aaron Anderson, but you will have Nick Anderson back. And then the other one, I'm not sure if you saw the news here on Friday, but A.J. Halsey has accepted an invite to the Senior Bowl. And as I understand it, he is not expected to play in the bowl game. So he has, up until this point, been practicing, but he is no longer practicing with the team. He accepted that Senior Bowl invite. He has battled a bit of a shoulder injury all season, so he hasn't really been 100% all year. And as I understand it, maybe another part of this is that they're going to be playing against his former team, a lot of his friends, and I don't know that he wants to maybe be out there in that situation as well. So that's one to watch. He again, as I was told, Halsey was not at practice today, the day he accepted the Senior Bowl invite. I do have a text out to his representatives to confirm this, but that's very much up in the air as to whether or not Halsey's going to play in the bowl game. At this point, I would suspect he will not play in the bowl game. And if he does not, that would mean Deshaun Spears and Tamarcus Cooley would start at safety for LSU in the bowl game. So just a few things to keep in mind. Tigers are a 3-point underdog against Houston, but the ESPN odds, the ESPN analytics have LSU as a 67.5% chance of winning the game. So while the odds makers in Vegas have Houston as a field goal favorite, the computers like LSU in this game more than they like the Houston Cougars. Houston's a 9-3 football team, LSU 7-5, but strength of schedule variant, and just a different LSU team without Garrett Nussmeier, as we've seen with look, the offense was bad all year, but with Michael Van Buren running the show this last month, it's been really challenging to get anything going offensively. So in any event, just a few notes there as LSU continues their bowl preparation. 7 practices in for the Tigers. They'll take the weekend off. They'll be back out there on Monday with 4 practices next week, and the Tigers leaving Baton Rouge on Christmas Eve for Houston. All right, it's after further review. We're brought to you by Parish Construction and Roofing, parishbuilt.com, parishbuilt.com. Do business with someone you know. I had a good conversation earlier today with Matt Pearson, who's our commercial roofing manager at Parish. And I think I told you this. I was having lunch at it was Jay's Barbecue on Government Street a couple days ago, and they needed a roof inspection. I was talking to Milton over there. Say, man, look, let me get our commercial roofing manager out here. So Matt Pearson went and checked it out, and it's all stems from not to be too technical, but insurance issue and things like that. You have to be able to be insured. You got to have a roof inspection and anyway. And Matt was more than happy to get out there and do it and give him an assessment and put it on parish letterhead and be a great community partner. So we're willing to help. And sometimes it doesn't always mean that there's work to be done. Maybe there is. We're going to be honest with you. Maybe you don't need a repair. Maybe you don't need a roof replacement. We're not going to force work on you or suggest something that isn't needed. We're going to be honest. We're local. We're happy to be here. And obviously, our group over at Parish was really in the forefront of pushing the creation of the LRCA, which is the Louisiana Roofing Contractors Association, trying to get a lot of the bad actors out of this industry, which sometimes has a bad reputation. So we're ethical. We're here. We were voted the best roofing company in Ascension today. Actually, we just found that out, which is awesome. So we appreciate so much your trust, and we love to help you out. Roof repairs, roof replacements, gutters, soft wash, commercial, residential. We do it all at Parish Construction and Roofing. ParishBuilt.com. ParishBuilt.com. All right, y'all, it is After Further Review. Glad to have you hanging out with us here. Terry will be here in about 35 minutes from right now for hour number 2. Basketball Tigers are back on the floor tonight at the PMAC. Haven't played the PMAC in a solid month. They had the Thanksgiving holiday, and they did the neutral site tournaments, and they played a lot of neutral site games. So the Tigers haven't been at the Maravich Center for a month, and opportunity to get back tonight against Southeastern. So give you a little thumbnail preview of that coming up here in just a little bit. Let me knock out a quick break. We'll do that. We'll go around the SEC and get you set for tonight's game and the weekend ahead in the college football playoff. It's AFR.
AFR.
AFR is brought to you by Clegg's Nursery with 4 locations in the greater Baton Rouge area. Siegen near Airline, LA 16 in Denham, Mid-City on Donmore, and the Garden Center on Greenwell Springs. Buy local, shop local, tell you every single day. This is your last shopping weekend, y'all. Last shopping weekend before Christmas. If you still haven't gotten something for everyone on your list, and you got maybe that hard to buy for person left on your list, get by Clegg's Nursery. Get so many options. You can get a Clegg's gift card, which is always a great option. Let them choose what they want. Citrus trees make an amazing gift. They can plant that citrus tree at their home, their office, wherever, and it's something that will quite literally bring value and joy for generations. Tuned wind chimes, bird feeders, hummingbird feeders. They have so much garden outdoor exterior decor. Check them out at any of the 4 Clegg's Nursery locations. Buy local, shop local at Clegg's Nursery.
After Further Review with Matt Moscona, presented by Don Juan Cigar Bar.
Interesting story out of Austin where apparently Arch Manning is agreeing to take less money as part of the revenue share at the University of Texas to help them build a championship roster. It was Inside Texas is who reported it first, and there's no word on exactly what Arch got last year or what type of pay cut that he's taking, to what degree. I do think it's interesting, however, because there is, arguably no more resource-rich program in the country than the University of Texas. They have a very deep roster of billionaire boosters that will cut checks and that could certainly help give Texas whatever they need in this era or any era. If you need to pay a coach, if you need to pay staff, if you need to pay support staff, if you need to pay players, there's just no denying that Texas has all of those resources to be able to do that. Well, remember, we're moving into a new era of true third-party NIL, where it's no longer, I know I've said this often, but just to clarify it again, it's no longer sufficient just to have boosters fund your collective and then just indiscriminately write checks to players. You have your $20.5 million, of which most programs are committing roughly 75% of that, about $15 million of that 20.5 to football. So that sort of levels the playing field where everybody has that as your launching point to spend on your roster. Well, everything on top of that has to be true third-party NIL. Well, the fact that Arch is taking less, and I don't know how much less, but it is illustrative of even a place like Texas in this new era is having to be mindful of what they spend and how they spend it. Because there is, even if perceived to be, a salary cap. Because every brand deal you think you're going to push through for a player, a recruit, a portal target, isn't guaranteed to be approved by the clearinghouse. So I know we've talked about this plenty since Lane Kiffin, even before Lane Kiffin was hired, but LSU's plan in true third-party NIL was the thing Kiffin said over and over again was the differentiator. Said the money for him was equal or even a lot of places. But LSU's plan, not just to have money to spend in true third-party NIL, but the plan and the systems to get those deals approved is what put LSU so far ahead of everybody else. Like, I know last week we were talking about this Nike deal. And look, Texas is a massive brand. It's undeniable. We can laugh at what they haven't won in the last 50 years, but is Texas back? But the bottom line is they are a massive brand, and they are a wealthy school, and they are a Nike school. And Nike didn't choose to roll out their NIL program last week with Texas or Southern Cal or Michigan or Ohio State or other big, or Alabama, other big brands. They chose LSU because LSU has the infrastructure in place already to handle a lot of this. And LSU continues to be ahead of the times. Now, specifically with Arch, you're taking less money. How will that manifest for Texas? I don't know. I mean, I'm also sort of the belief that if you have willing rich people who are trying to funnel money to players, they're going to find a way to do it above board or not, and it's probably what's going to happen. Maybe that's a cynical point of view, but that's how college football operated for its entire existence until this NIL era. So I don't know how much it'll actually matter, but this is just another example and an illustration of even a place like Texas thinks it's significant to have Arch Manning take less so that they could direct those funds elsewhere in the roster. It's not about going to the boosters to say, can you give us more? It's about going to Arch Manning and say, can you take less? And so hat tip to Arch for being a team-centered guy. It's something Tom Brady did often during his time in New England, was he took less so they could keep building a roster around him capable of winning championships. It's something that you see break a lot of organizations. I mean, when we talked about it yesterday with Miami, 35% of the Dolphins' salary cap is tied up in Tua and Tyreek Hill. How's that working out for you? I mean, you look at Patrick Mahomes getting a $400 million contract. He's worth it. Absolutely he is. But you've seen a lot of key players from Kansas City leave over the years for more money, Tyreek Hill among them, for more money in other places. How much is that of that does it start to trickle down into the college ranks? Is something we're going to watch. So Arch taking less there at the University of Texas. College football playoff starts tonight. I want to talk about that in just a quick second. Let's hear from Kalen DeBoer as Alabama is at Oklahoma tonight. We'll get you some picks on those games in hour number 3. We're brought to you by South Point Volkswagen, southpointvw.com. New and certified pre-owned in Baton Rouge and online at southpointvw.com, southpointvw.com. Let's see. It is the 19th, meaning we have 12 days left in the year. My math right? Yeah, 12 days left in the year. The end of the year, end of the month, end of the year is always the best time to make a deal because you got to meet quotas. You got to move inventory. And at the end of 2025, they got to blow out the remaining 2025s to make room for the 26s. There's already 26s on the lot. So you want to go make a deal on a brand new 2026 Volkswagen, you could do it at Louisiana's largest volume Volkswagen dealer. But you can always go check out right now the remaining 2025s and save big. Sign and drives going on, 0 down, 0 to it signing, no first month's payment, no security deposit. Sign your name with little else. You're driving away in a brand new vehicle from South Point Volkswagen. Airline just north of Highland or southpointvw.com, southpointvw.com. South Point Volkswagen, what's your direction? All right, it is after further review. Bama and Oklahoma tonight in the college football playoff. Kalen DeBoer meeting with reporters. Kind of give a little thumbnail here on his team's first CFP appearance here in the 12-team era.
I just know that across the board, the intensity is just so much fun to be a part of. The playoff environment and, just everyone, the support, whether it's your team inside, the support outside, this is what you work for. You work to get to this moment to where you got a chance to reach your goals. And, every day you're giving everything you can to give yourself the best chance to be successful. And so, you just got to make sure we stick to our process and every day give everything you got. One thing that is, nice this week is, you're done with finals and guys are graduation and all that's taken care of. And so, you're just really focused on football.
Kalen DeBoer, again, in advance of his team's game against Oklahoma tonight in Norman. Remember, these two teams played just a little more than a month ago in Tuscaloosa, and Oklahoma won that game 23-21. Notably, Oklahoma won the turnover margin that day 3-0. Ty Simpson threw a pick. Bama lost a couple of fumbles in that game. But what ailed Alabama in that game is what has consistently ailed them throughout this year, and that's been their inability to run the football. On that day, Bama ran 33 times for 80 yards, an average of 2.4 yards per carry. Now, Oklahoma didn't run it well either. They ran it 28 times for 74, which is 2.6. So neither team ran the ball. But it was Oklahoma, which had a pick six in that game, and then the three turnovers netted them short fields where they were able to ultimately convert enough to win. And in that game, Oklahoma's defense sacked Ty Simpson 4 times. They had 5 TFLs. So it was that Oklahoma defense that was the differentiator on the road in Tuscaloosa against Alabama. And both these offenses have just struggled, man. Alabama, while they averaged 31 a game, they are 117th in the country in rushing offense. Say that again. Alabama is 117th in the country in rushing offense. I say it often. It's just, this is not the same program that Nick Saban ran roughshod over college football for a decade and a half. And it's most evident on the line of scrimmage. They are just not what they were at the line of scrimmage. By the way, Oklahoma, 106th in the country in rushing offense. So you have two terrible rushing teams, two really good defenses. This is probably going to be another game where you're looking at turnovers, at field position, short field. Like, that's probably what's going to be the differentiator in this game, or the big play. Like we saw, Satania hit the big 60-yarder against LSU. Like, LSU's defense was great. They had 2 busts, cost them the game. That's probably something you're looking at in this game. By the way, here was Kalen DeBoer on his team's running game against Oklahoma.
We've had times where we struggled to run the ball, and I thought that was a game where we communicated well. We blocked well. We did our assignment, and we kept building. And Jam was the part of that, and carried the load there, as well as Daniel, and getting some opportunities in that first game. And so you just really hope that us understanding what they do, I know there'll be some tweaks and adjustments they make. We will do the same, but you just really want to build, and two teams that, again, know each other. And so, you have your identity, but you also got to continue to find these little tangents that you can add to because, we know what they're working on, and they know what we're working on.
Kalen DeBoer, as the Crimson Tide and the Sooners get ready to do battle in the college football playoff tonight. It's 7 o'clock on ABC, and it is still, I was trying to see an updated spread. It's still 1.5 OU, so it opened OU. It went to Bama 1.5. Has now gone back to Oklahoma, favored by 1.5. It is worth mentioning that a year ago in the first round of the college football playoff, all 4 home teams won their opening round games, not only won, but covered. So all 4 home teams a year ago won and covered their opening round game. So we'll see if that trend holds as the sample size grows in this 12-team playoff. But Bama, Oklahoma tonight, A&M, Miami. There's 3 games tomorrow. A&M, Miami's the early game. Smart, because there's the NFL in the midday and the evening window, and the college football is choosing not to put their best game against the NFL. So A&M and Miami will go at 11 a.m. Ole Miss, Tulane will go at 2:30, and then the night game will be Oregon and JMU. And yeah, I mean, it is a West Coast game, but that's also going to be the nightcap because that's going to be a blowout. They just don't want that head-to-head against, or they don't mind with that being head-to-head against the NFL. So we'll see how the day goes tonight and tomorrow for college football. All right, it is After Further Review Thursday shows. Excuse me, it's not Thursday, it's Friday. It's brought to you by Don Juan Cigar Bar in Town Center. Let me knock out a quick break, wrap up hour number 1 when we come back, and then Terry will be here in about 17 minutes. Stick around.
After Further Review.
We're brought to you by Parish Restoration, parishrestoration.com, parishrestoration.com. Kill mold, remove odor. They'll come by, spray that patented non-toxic dry fog treatment. You know, I say it that way every day intentionally so you understand those 2 things. Patented, meaning nobody else can use it, and it's non-toxic dry fog. Non-toxic means it's safe for your family, for your pets, for your plants. Dry fog, meaning it's dry, it's not wet. You're not going to cut sheetrock or mess up your furniture, carpet, anything like that. So it is a more efficient, more effective, more cost-effective way of killing mold, sanitizing, removing odor, other harmful pathogens. My goodness, flu is going everywhere around this town right now. If it's running rampant in your school, your office, whatever it may be, let Parish Restoration come spray. ParishRestoration.com, ParishRestoration.com.
After Further Review with Matt Moscona, presented by Don Juan Cigar Bar.
I'm a big fan of peer progressions. I think from a quarterback perspective, it allows you to always have a starting point. There's a lot of things the defense can do, and there's a lot of different tools at your disposal. And certainly there's times in pre-snap or different looks that hey, I know where I'm going right now. But I think the value of peer progressions is it always gives you a starting point, always gives you a progression, and then allows you to go from there to the different things that you may want to utilize.
Kellen Moore talking a lot about Tyler Shuck, his development, working through progressions, a thing we've seen that the Saints rookie quarterback do exceptionally well, especially during this 2-game winning streak and during his 6 starts. He'll make his 7th start Sunday in the Dome against the Jets, where the Saints are a 4.5-point favorite. If you haven't seen it yet, the latest or the final injury report of the week is out. And as expected, there are going to be 3 there are going to be 3 Saints that are out, already ruled out. Alvin Kamara will not play. Cesar Ruiz will not play. Asim Richards will not play. Now, Richards, certainly that hurts from a depth perspective. Richards had replaced Fuaga at right tackle when Fuaga was injured. So Fuaga being back, that's lessened a little bit, provided Fuaga stays healthy and is able to go. But Kamara, Richards, Ruiz, they're out. Nathan Shepard, Mason Tipton, and Zaire Mitchell-Payton are all questionable for the game. Mitchell-Payton is a new injury report addition with a knee injury. He was limited on Friday. The good news, Justin Reed, full participant, he will play. Tyler Shuck, Devon Gottschall, both full participants. Gottschall was on the report because all season long he's had his veteran rest day. Shuck listed with a hip injury, but he's been a full participant all week. So that's the good news there. The Saints will be further weakened on the offensive line, right? You've been without Eric McCoy all season. You traded Trevor Penning earlier. You got the trade deadlines. You've had Dylan Raduns at left guard. And on the right side of the line, Fuaga's back, but now you'll be replacing Cesar Ruiz. So you've had a little bit of a turnstile there on the offensive line in a unit that's not been very good. So we'll see the direction they go this weekend, Sunday, against the Jets in the Dome. As for the Jets, their injury report, we had already known this week that that Mason Taylor was going to be out this week. Eric Watts also out, and Kiko Mawioga is also out. So the other notables, Justin Fields, Tyrod Taylor, both questionable for the game. So Brady Cook is going to start again, his second start here for the Jets. He's played the bulk of the last 2 games, however, but he'll get a second start this weekend with the Jets in the Dome against the Saints. Also, something that Aaron Glenn did say earlier today is that they do not expect Garrett Wilson, like he will not play again for the remainder of the season. So this is a Jets team that is limping toward the finish line of another miserable season. They haven't made the postseason in 15 years. And right now, like, while we've talked a lot about the Saints and tanking, do you want to win games? Do you play for draft picks? You'll know where I stand on this. I've been very transparent. I want the Saints to win. I'm not concerned so much about the draft pick. Now, if Tyler Shuck stunk and you knew you had to draft a quarterback, then I'd want the highest pick possible. I would rather you win games proving that this thing is on the ascent, and then you're going to go into this draft not looking to draft a quarterback, but draft the best player that can help you. Look at the inverse of what's happening with the Saints and the Jets. 2 teams that last month were battling for the first overall pick. Now you look at the Jets, they're on to Brady Cook. They've shut down Garrett Wilson. They've traded off key pieces like Sauce Gardner, Quinnen Williams. And now you look at New Orleans, which over the last 5 weeks has been one of the best defenses in the NFL. They've won 3 of their last 6, 3 of the last 5, actually, with Tyler Shuck under center. And they're favored in this one and could very well be favored next week at Tennessee. And we'll see about at Atlanta. But the point is, you have 2 organizations that even a month ago we would have looked at and said they're on par. These were teams that were sellers at the trade deadline, trying to find a young quarterback that it can build around for the future. And right now, it's undeniable. You feel much better about the Saints today over the Jets than you did a month ago when they felt sort of even, when the Saints were in the midst of their worst losing streak since the Ditka era. So, yeah, it's a really refreshing spot to be, to actually have a little bit of optimism, which was not the case the first 2 months of this season. Speaking of Aaron Glenn, is a guy that was the Saints' top target. He was the guy that the Saints wanted to bring here to be their coach, and he chose to go to New York and coach the Jets instead. Here was Glenn on Tyler Shuck.
He was a guy that came in on a 30 visit and had a chance to talk to him. Obviously, he's an older rookie that came in, so the conversation was somewhat different than a true rookie of age. But a number of it just about situations, about his journey throughout college and the things that he's been through. And he's been through a lot of adversity. And so it doesn't surprise me that he's playing the way he's playing right now. Again, he was a guy that was on our list. He's a good player. We all know that. And I think he fits what they're trying to do very well.
Aaron Glenn and the Jets, I think the defensive collapse the last 2 weeks has probably been the most startling thing about the Jets, considering Glenn, a defensive-minded coach. The Jets, despite their offensive struggles and not being able to find consistency at quarterback, have been a good defensive team. When Robert Saleh was there, you would assume Aaron Glenn going there, they would have continued to be a consistent defensive team. That just has not happened. And a big part of that, obviously, is trading away your best players. But you look at what the Jets did, which is an absolute abomination the last 2 weeks. Giving up 48 last week to Jacksonville, 34 against Miami. We'll see if Tyler Shuck and this offense can get going against this really struggling Jets defense. All right, we're brought to you by Evamore, EVAMOR, Evamore.com. Ontario's coming up right after the top of the hour. I want to remind you, though, I know it's a little bit of a warm-up today at 64, and we're going to hit the 70s next week, but when the temperatures drop, sometimes we forget the importance of staying hydrated. That's why I encourage you, do what I do. Grab a 64-ounce bottle of Evamore, carry it around with you all day. It's a great reminder to stay hydrated. Finish one of these. I'd like to drink 2 of them a day, but finish at least one of these a day. Stay hydrated. Help boost your immunity during the cold and flu season. You want to make sure you stay hydrated. It'll keep you healthy. And Evermore is a better form of hydration. It's natural artesian water, and it's a Louisiana product. EVAMOR, EVAMOR, Evermore.com, Evermore.com. Find the location, the retailer nearest you that sells it, or order it online at Evermore.com. All right, y'all, it is after further review. We will catch up on SportsCenter here and national headlines. When we come back, Terrio will be here to kick off hour number 2. Ryan's Letter, Kick Rocks, Nick Saban crushing the college football playoff. A lot to do. Stay here.
After further review.
Man, if you're sweating right now, understanding that Christmas is 6 days away and you still haven't gotten the perfect gift, I got a great idea. Go to Lee Michaels. You got 10 locations, 2 of them right here in Baton Rouge. Corporate Boulevard in Bocage, Mall of Louisiana, Lafayette, New Orleans, Shreveport. You can always check them out online at lmfj.com, lmfj.com. I was at Lee Michaels last week, the one on Corporate and Bocage, and man, it was bustling. Went by the one in the mall. Drew and I go do our elevator rides every Sunday, so last Sunday was at the mall with Drew, and mall location, bustling. They got an amazing selection at Lee Michaels. Any of their locations. And it's not just, they have the best selection of beautiful diamond engagement rings, but they have everything else. Him or her, thrill her with a gift in the red box. From Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry.